Arfield, 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield, he's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Sir Rory now. On the outside, decent.
He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Sir Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes, and Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly, finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell, saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
Only by Paul Teller, off for a hat-trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day.
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson, and he's on the outside, comes inside, top shot,
Oh, the goal! Manuel Benson once more. That is top class.
Burnley have done it, fantastic, Clarence deserve the championship title, they've been the best side throughout the campaign, Burnley have won the second tier, what a fantastic achievement, the players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome along to the latest instalment of the Turfcast podcast pre-game show with me, Joe Redmond, ahead of the clash on Tuesday night, Burnley versus Oxford United. Are we anticipating another 0-0, everybody? Fingers crossed not, because we need to start winning some games now. Leeds, obviously, don't seem to be stopping. They're winning every single week except when they play us. Sheffield United are picking up some results as well. And Sunderland, I'm recording this on Monday. Sunderland play tonight against Middlesbrough. Tough game, to be fair. I'm actually working on that match, so that should be fun. At least I can watch it. But as usual on the pre-game show, we always get an opposition fan in to give me the lowdown on the opposition. And if you watched earlier in the season, you may recognise our guest. It's Simon from the Fence End Pod. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, very well. Very well. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good, thank you. And yeah, what were your thoughts on the game earlier in the season then between Burnley and Oxford? I remember you giving me some advice on how to get down to Oxford, some places to see while I was down there. I was really looking forward to it. And obviously we didn't get the points. It was, I think, the first 0-0 of the season, or one of the first anyway. We should have looked. We should have known then. It set the tone. But yeah, another 0-0. You guys did sit back and defend quite well, though, to be fair. But yeah, what were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I mean, it sort of came at the start of the season for us, where we were still, I think, a bit on a high from the promotion and the playoff final and everything that went with that. And we started, especially at home, we started really well. Won 3 games on the trot at home, and then played you guys, and it felt like we belong. You know, when you're playing a team like Burnley, who just come down from the Premier League, and you keep a clean sheet and pick up a point, it felt like a good performance and a good result.
Yeah, and to be fair, you said there, I did like that sentence where you said it felt like we belonged. To be fair, looking at your season so far, 16th in the league, a massive 10 points of relegation. Like, I'll be honest with you, I didn't hold much hope for Oxford at the start of the season, but I've seen you play a few times now. I don't see how you get relegated from this position. I know it's easier to say outside looking in. You won't be as confident. I respect that, but you must be absolutely delighted with how it's gone so far.
Yeah, I mean, start of the season went brilliantly. It tailed off kind of towards the end of the calendar year. You know, a long. I think it was 1 win in 15, something like that. And it did feel at that point like, are they going to give him more time? A lot of the fans felt that Buckingham deserved a bit more time. But I guess in hindsight now, looking at the reaction from the squad and the results since Gary Rowett came in, absolutely fantastic, and I think we're closer to the playoffs than relegation. Not that that's going to be. I think we're still probably, you know, not bookies' favourites to be one of the teams relegated, but I think we still need to be very careful that we make sure we get the results and we get the points that we need to make sure we stay up. Yeah,
I genuinely, I'm not. I'm going to say I'm not a betting man. That's a lie. I am. And not too much, not big stakes. They had fiver here and there. But I would genuinely put my mortgage on the fact that you are not going down at this stage. You'd have to fall off an absolute cliff. Let's just go into your form at the minute. And I'm glad you mentioned Buckingham and Rowett there. I do want to talk about them too, and the sacking of Buckingham individually, and Rowett coming in and how he's done so well for you guys. But just as a reminder, Gary Rowett, I think he was announced, Rowett. It was announced on the 21st. You played Leeds that day, but he was in the stands.
That's right,
You did lose at Leeds. Again, no shame. They've only lost one game at Ellen Road. I won't mention who it's against. But since then, you beat Oxford 3-2 on Boxing Day, beat Plymouth 2-0, won at Millwall, a real result that. We lost down at Millwall, drew with Preston, we'll forget about the FA Cup. Then drew at Plymouth, beat Blackburn, well done, by the way, thank you for that. Beat Luton, then you had a couple of draws recently, a draw with Stoke and a draw against Bristol City, but he's not actually lost, has he, since he's come in? So you absolutely turned the corner, been fantastic.
Yeah, from not winning a game, like I say, or one win since September under Buckingham to, apart from the FA Cup where it was quite a change side down at Exeter. Yeah, other than that, we've looked really solid. We've like I said earlier, I thought Buckingham would get more time. We spent a couple of seasons back way too long getting rid of Carl Robinson, and I thought the club might be, give him a similar amount of time. Buckingham, that is. They didn't, but it's certainly the right decision, and it just, I guess, that experience that Gary Rowett's got in the Championship, but at kind of both ends of the table, 3 top 10 finishes, I think it was, with Millwall, and we would look at ourselves at a similar standard to Millwall, similar size of club. That we're not a Premier League club, but we want to be that established Championship club, and Rowett certainly done the job there. And like you say, that away win at Millwall, first away win of the season as well, was important, that we not only draw away from home, but we can pick up points on the road as well.
What's changed then? What's he done differently between the Buckingham team and the Rowett team? What's different? Are you just more solid? Are you a little bit more free?
Yeah, it didn't change a great deal. In terms of personnel, pretty much the same 11. I would say the only thing he's done, we play 4 at the back, and then it's kind of a 4-3-3. And the midfield has changed slightly in that rather than having one defensive midfielder, that kind of pivot position they call it, we're now playing with 2. Yeah. So Will Volks and Brannigan was playing further forward. He's now, so we're playing almost 4-2-3-1, and those 2 deep line midfielders are offering a bit more protection, but they're also both kind of breaking forward individually. So when one goes, one sits, and that's really, I would say, the only difference. We still try and play it around at the back. We like to play with a bit of width when we can, and although Rowett, when he came in, a lot of people, it'll be dour, but you'll get results. Well, we're playing with 2 wingers who really get, the stand out on the touchlines and really get wide, and we like to use that width. So it's, he's not changed a great deal, but he's got certainly Will Volks, like I said, started the season not great. We thought he would be the experience, and he made a few mistakes. Since Gary Rowett's come in, he's looked a completely different player, and he's making the side tick a bit.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's rewind a little bit and go back to the Buckingham sacking then, because outside looking in, it's bizarre with football fans. You kind of feel like I was annoyed personally, is what I'm saying. Like I've not followed Oxford at any point, like looked at the story. But when I see a manager like get a club like yourselves out from the doldrums and into somewhere where you probably believe you deserve to be and does very, very well, you expect a club, especially an Oxford lad as well, and an Oxford fan, I think he was, or an Oxford, I can't remember exactly. Yeah, you would expect them to get more time, but they didn't. Like, how did the fans react to that? Were you angry, disappointed? I know you said you expected to get him more time, but what was the overriding emotion when he was sacked?
I think when it happened, initially shock. It was kind of crikey. Didn't see that coming. We thought he would get, like I say, get more time. To try and turn it round. He played. He came through the academy as a youngster, then worked as a coach in the academy as well. When he didn't make it as a player, went off, got involved with the City Group across the world, sort of New Zealand, Australia, India, and then came back, and it didn't start great for him, but obviously the end of last season was fantastic, and we went on a great run at the end and culminated it at Wembley. And although performances had tailed off, I guess it gets to a point where it's easier to change the manager than get a load of players in, and his lack of experience perhaps in the Championship, the club just felt it was too much of a risk to keep him on. In hindsight, turns out, it looks like it was the right decision. And I guess it allows us to look back on his time as, well, he got us promoted into the Championship and then left halfway through a season where, fingers crossed, will survive. So it's not tainted his, the memory of what he did as a manager. He's not going to get us relegated. So, we'll look back at it positively.
Yeah, fair enough. It's interesting as well. Like you said, it does help that you've gone on and done well. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Like I said, at the time, I was annoyed. Now I'm looking at it thinking, can't really complain. This is why these are football club owners and I'm sat in my spare room doing podcasts. They obviously know a little bit more about the game than I ever will. But I know you mentioned then, obviously, Rowett, you mentioned his formation and stuff. What sort of style do you play? Because you said there people might have suggested that it might be dull, but you'll get results. But it's not really been that way, has it? So what sort of system does it? Not system like in terms of the formation, but like what sort of style do you play? I know you mentioned you pass it round at the back. Are you expecting to sit back at Burnley?
We're certainly sort of defensively sound, and we'll get stuck in midfield. But we do have these two wings, depending on who he starts. But Shemi Pacheta and Siriki Dembele have been the guys that have been playing out on the wing, certainly the last sort of 4 or 5 games, something like that. And we will try and get the ball forward down the wings and get crosses in. I think I was just chatting earlier to friends about what we might need in the transfer window, last day of the transfer window. I'd love a big proper number 9 because we are getting crosses into the box, but we've not got an out-and-out goal scorer in the squad. And it feels like that would help to make something, like I say, wingers putting crosses in, fantastic, but I think top scorers on 5 and joint top scorers on 5, and one of those is our left back. So we're not scoring loads of goals, or rather one person isn't scoring loads of goals. It's being spread around the team. But a number 9, if it happens between now and the close of the window, I think it might help. Like I say, we're getting wingers and we're trying to play nice football and it's enjoyable to watch, more so than, like I say, I think from other fans said, "Oh, Gary Rowett's dour, it'll be rubbish," but it's not. He's playing some decent football.
You're talking there about lack of goals and how you want a striker. Honestly, you're preaching to the choir, mate. Like so many 0-0s recently. I know some Burnley fans don't agree. They feel like we're not creating enough, and to an extent, I do agree. The XG has been pretty low throughout the season, but I do feel like a striker would help as a proper number 9. Although we do have a striker, for some reason, he's playing on the left wing, but that's a different debate. You mentioned deadline day. Then let's stick with that. Then you said you want a proper number 9. Any movement happening that might happen today? Obviously, we're recording this at 1:15 at the minute. It is on the 3rd of February, so it is deadline day now. So anyone you do sign between now and the end of the window won't be able to play tomorrow. But are you expecting anyone to come in?
The post-match interview with Rowett on Saturday, he kind of said that's pretty much it coming in. There might be one or two going out, and I guess it'll perhaps depend on other teams' movement and somebody becoming surplus to requirement who then gets sort of punted out, as it were. It's kind of like, hey, this lad's free, do you want him, sort of thing. And I think we would need to ship out a couple, and I think there might be some outgoings perhaps on loan just to get the squad numbers down, because we've got a couple of players injured that look like they might be back before the end of the season that will need a squad place. So I don't think there'll be anyone coming in, but if it did happen, it would need players going out. So I think we're probably done, but you never know.
Yeah, fair enough. Fingers crossed. Obviously, we've just announced Edwards, who's a very good signing. He was announced in time to play tomorrow, but he's not played much over the last few months. So I doubt he'll be starting, potentially on the bench, and then an unused substitute, just like all the other attacking flair was on Saturday. But that brings me on as well to sort of Oxford players to look out for. You mentioned, is it Pacheta and Dembele already?
Yeah.
Are they the main two that we need to be worried about as Burnley fans?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah, Placetta's been, since Rowett's come in, he's sort of looked a much different player, and he's a proper quick winger, knocks it past fullbacks and races them, and he is very, very rapid. He scored a screamer, I think it was against Preston. Left foot came in off the right wing and hit it with his left and right in the top corner. Dembele's a more sort of tricky player, very quick feet, and will win a lot of free kicks. So they are at the moment the two that we're kind of relying on for the flair. Cameron Brannigan sometimes pops up with a decent free kick or a long range shot, but depending on formation, maybe Tyler Goodrum, who's been out, he was out with he's been suspended but has come back in. He's another one that is our creative player. Other than that, it's kind of solidity is the back four and the midfielders. So it's the flair is out wide.
Yeah, fair enough. Interesting as well, because we do have, depending on who we play at fullback, I won't mention any names, we can sometimes be a little bit susceptible when teams attack us. So be interesting to see what you do with them wide players. I also like to get your thoughts on Burnley at the minute. Obviously third in the league as it stands. Sunderland are playing tonight, but I think it would require a big push in terms of goal difference off the top of my head for them to go above us. Leeds and Sheffield United starting to not edge away, but at the weekend, for example, they did edge a little bit further away from us. Fingers crossed we can obviously claw it back a little bit tomorrow night, although I'm sure you guys will disagree. But we have currently the tag of boring Burnley to the point where even some of our own fans were singing it on Saturday. I'll be honest with you, Saturday was a tough watch. What are your thoughts on Burnley at the minute and sort of like the way that they're playing? Because the Parker especially is getting a bit of criticism, especially from outside sources at the style of play.
Yeah, it does seem, like you say, you're up there and in with a chance of the automatics. I think looking at the table in the same way you can't see us, getting relegated. You kind of feel that you should at least make the playoffs. That's minimum from where you are at the moment. So it kind of feels those 0-0s. It's almost like, well, if those were a win and a loss and a win and a loss, you picked up more points. And it does feel sometimes like making sure you don't lose is all well and good when you're down at the bottom. But I think if you're going for it at the top, it does feel those, like you say, lots of 0-0s. I'd settle for a 0-0 now, obviously, because that would be a great point for us. Mate. But it does feel from the outside like you should be doing better. You should be really challenging the two at the top. Yeah,
the problem is goals. I mean, we're brilliant at the back. Conceded 9 goals all season. Yeah. So even despite these flair players, I'm going to say the same thing to you. I said it to Middlesbrough fans. I said it to Leeds fans. You'll do well to score against us. But I think also the flip side, we'll probably do well to score against you. Genuinely, if it's another 0-0, and this is no disrespect to Oxford, it's not because we expect to beat you. It's because it'll be like the 6 out of the last 7 games. If it's another 0-0, there mimight genuinely be riots in the stands, mate. Honestly, give me a 3-3 instead of a 0-0. If it's going to be a draw, which obviously I hope it isn't, we need to be winning games now. Give me a 3-3 at any point. But how do you think these flair players and your attacking sort of like players are going to do against Burnley's defence? Do you think you'll be the team to the first team to break us down in 2025, which is a ridiculous thing to say on the 3rd of February?
I mean, if we can get, like I said, get a point, it would be great. You never know with football. It's one of those weird ones. We're looking at it now and saying, well, we're fairly solid defensively. We haven't been on the right. It could end up being one of those ridiculous games where it's a very high scoring game. Unlikely, but you never know. If there's an early goal, everything can go out the window. So there might be that sort of thought from the Burnley players that we should be winning this game, and they are perhaps a little bit more expansive, go forward a bit more, and that gives us a chance to catch you with pace on the break. I'm not expecting a great deal. These will be, you know, this unbeaten run will come to an end at some point, and this is by far the trickiest game that we've played since Rowett's been in by a long way. So yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, well, obviously, ours is going to come to an end at some point again, which feels ridiculous saying because the mood at the minute isn't the best because of the amount of draws. But we are actually 17 games unbeaten, which is ridiculous. But then people are still mourning, which to be fair, I get because obviously we're drawing too many games and we're starting to not drift away, as I said. But you know, a couple of wrong results at the weekend for our promotion rivals means that they have edged slightly in front of us. And again, I just want to rewind a little bit. We spoke last time you was on the channel about your ambitions for the season, which were just survive. Currently 10 points clear of relegation. You said earlier you're closer to the playoffs than relegation. I'm not going to for 1 second sit here and say, are you expecting playoffs or anything like that? But have your aims changed, or is it still let's just survive this season and maybe kick on next season? Or have you got half an eye on maybe finishing in the top half?
I think where we are now and the recruitment that's happened sort of in January so far, and we've strengthened, I think we've now got to be looking at that top half finish because you're then looking at, you know, recruitment for next season. And rather than bringing in players who are looking at Oxford and going, crikey, missed, you know, you only just avoided relegation, that's going to be a battle next season. You might attract players who think, oh, okay, they might be in with a shout, you never know, you know, or
yeah,
it'll help recruitment. You know, prize money as well. The further you finish up the division, that's great, and it just takes a positive sort of feeling around the club into next season. We're in the process of hopefully getting planning permission on a new stadium, and you kind of, if we'd have got relegated, there would be that, well, you don't need a new stadium because you won't get the crowds. And the fact that we're pretty much selling out week in, week out at home, admittedly, you know, it's 11,500 because of the size of the stadium, but it you know, if we're progressing and getting better and better and further up the divisions and establishing ourselves as a championship club, then it's kind of, everything feels good. You know, it rubs off on the county, on the city, and the fans. It's positive sort of mentality all round.
Yeah, I do feel like you do need a new stadium if you want to progress. Having said that, I did like the Kassam. Obviously, the fact that the away end is right next to the open, I think it helps that it wasn't chucking it down and the weather was quite nice. I think if it was pissing it down and raining sideways into that away end, I might have not had a very pleasant experience. But I quite liked it, to be fair. So I think it'd be a shame to see it go. But I do agree. I do think if you want to progress as a club, you either need a new stadium or need to build a new stand. I guess building a new stand is out of the question.
It is, yeah. The stadium is owned by a former chairman who no longer has a connection to the football club. That split, club and stadium split back in about 2010, I think it was, and it's been we're a season and a half away from basically being kicked out. The lease agreement that we've got to use the club or use the stadium, on match days, because that's the other thing. We don't even own. It's not like we're kind of renting the stadium and getting it 24/7. We use it on match days, and that's it. All the kind of conferencing money.
I think I remember you telling me you get the keys at like 1 o'clock, don't you? I think I remember you telling me you get the keys at like 1.
Literally, I think the kind of relationship is better now, and I think because of the championship, they've had to make that a little bit earlier. But yeah, we had some League One games where, you know, because of the car parking, I'd get there early and go to the pub, but you walk past the ground and there'd be like the kit men from the away team trying to get in. It's like, no, you can't get in till 1 o'clock, mate. Sorry. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Yeah. So the ownership and you know, looking to put a lot of money in and like I say, build this new stadium, state of the art, and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, fingers crossed that'll happen.
Yeah, fingers crossed and good luck. Fingers crossed I don't have to come back for a long time because we're in the Prem and we stay in the Prem, but we'll see what happens with that one. But that brings me on nicely then to predictions. What's your score predictions then for this game?
You mentioned being a betting man. I think if I was a betting man, I probably would go 0-0 because it just feels like, you know, that's going to be the obvious one. It might well be the game where we do lose, you know, under Rowett, but if we can keep it tight and you know, just keep the performances going more than anything, you know, appreciate that we will lose at some point and go for it. But let's say 0-0, and we'll be leaving ecstatic, and you guys might not be.
We'll be rioting. Rioting. Genuinely, mate. Like going into a game against a team that was promoted from League One last season, obviously with ourselves coming down from the Premier League, I should be going into this with a bit of confidence. I'm a little bit worried about it, not in the sense that, I mean, you could snatch a win. Like obviously, it's not against the realms of possibility. I just think our defence is far too good. I'm just worried it's going to be another 0-0, and I think the problem with the home games is, when they start slowly, which the majority of them do, the fans get on the back because they think, here we go again. It's going to be another 0-0, another tedious performance from Burnley. So I'm hoping for some early action to get the crowd going, and so the crowd doesn't get on the players' backs. But I am a little bit worried that it's going to be 0-0 at half-time. People are getting restless and bored and things like that. I'm a little bit worried for a 0-0. However, because there's been so much negativity surrounding these 0-0s recently, and we've had it before where we've drawn too many games in a row and then we've kicked on a little bit. I'm hoping this is one of the games where we kick on. So I'm going to say 1-0 to Burnley, but that's mainly heart over head, mate. I'm getting to the stage now where I am getting a little bit worried about these games. One final prediction from you before we wrap it up. Oxford United, then, will they stay up?
I believe we will now. Yeah, the not just because of our results and performances, but I think there are teams that are struggling at the moment, falling away. And even if it's 50 like it was last season, that's kind of 2 or 3 wins and 2 or 3 draws, and we're nearly there. So I think we've got enough now. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me on the arse, but it feels like at the moment we're playing well enough to pick those results up over the next few weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'll be very, very, very surprised to see you anywhere near the relegation zone at this point. But before we do go, mate, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you in the Oxford content if anybody wants to digest it before or after this week's game?
Yeah, we're the Fence End Pod.
Yeah, happy days. And I do recommend listening to that. Yeah, like I said, mate, I'll say this to everyone. Good luck for the rest of the season. But obviously, after tomorrow, I think you'll be fine. Like I said, you'll be in the Championship next season. And if we are, I'm sure we'll link up again next season. But I kind of hope that we don't have to link up next season, mate, because we'll be in the Premier League. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. But thanks anyway, mate.
No problem. Thank you.